Good morning. My name is Keith Bray. I'm the Brooklyn Borough Commissioner for the New York City Department of Transportation. On behalf of Commissioner Polly Tromberg, who unfortunately cannot be here today, and Mayor de Blasio, I welcome you to this occasion. We're here at Front Bund Hall Academy to talk about keeping kids safe as we return to school tomorrow. First, a few acknowledgments today. Our Vision Zero partner is New York City Chief of Transportation Thomas Chan, who will speak in a moment about the PD's back-to-school efforts to keep children safe. We also have State Senator Andrew Gennardis, Assemblymember Frontas, and other members of the public I'll introduce shortly. With both public and private schools opening tomorrow, we want to remind people about New York City's speed camera program has dramatically expanded this summer. Thanks to the hard work of lawmakers like Senator Gennardis and Assemblymember Frontas, DOT has begun the process of doubling the impact of the automatic speed enforcement with new life-saving cameras, including one on 99th Street, and 3rd Avenue. Even though the camera is close to the Front Bund Hall Academy and two other schools in the area, it would not have been allowed under the previous speed camera law. We are maintaining our Vision Zero focus on protecting the most vulnerable amongst us, our kids. After New York City's new speed camera law took effect in July, more than 198,000 violations were issued. That's the number that we, of course, would like to see come down as people comply with the law. We know that no one likes to get a speeding ticket, and the great thing is more than 80% of the people who get one speeding ticket do not get a second one. The data also shows that speeding in zones with cameras declined by more than 60%. That's a proof of the effectiveness of this life-saving measure. A little more background. We are installing new cameras citywide at a rate of 40 per month this year, and it will be 60 per month in 2020. We expect the reach of the laws to have a maximum of 750 school zones by June of 2020. The stronger speed camera law that was authorized by the Assembly and the State Senate and signed by Governor Andrew Cuomo Mother's Day took effect on July 11th, and it doubles the amount of cameras, and it also doubles the amount of hours. The cameras now operate year-round on all weekdays between 6 a.m. and 10 p.m. It includes summer and school vacations. Previously, the cameras were variable and they could only operate during the school's active hours. The new law also extends the zones where cameras may operate. Cameras' maximum distance from schools were expanded to a quarter-mile radius from a school rather than a quarter-mile from a school on the abutting street. For example, under the previous law, we could have put a camera on Shore Parkway, next to Front Bund Hall here, but few kids come to school actually cross Shore Parkway. But by installing a new camera along 3rd Avenue just a block away, we are protecting a lot more kids who attend school here. Fines for speed camera violations remain unchanged at $50. They're issued to those who exceed the posted speed limit by 10 miles an hour. Notices of liability are issued by DOT by mail to the offender, and they are adjudicated by New York City Department of Finance. I would also like to thank other members of the DOT team who are here who worked so hard on this automatic camera law and on installing the cameras. That includes John Topaldo and Vinny Susi from Traffic Operations, Julia Kite-Laidlaw, and Assistant Commissioner Kim Wiley-Swartz, whose passion for Vision Zero makes a difference in our work every day. Now to talk about the NYPD's Vision Zero traffic enforcement measures is Chief Chan.
Thank you, Commissioner. Good morning. Brooklyn Borough Commissioner Keith Bray, Senator Andrew Gennardis, our elected officials, the school principal, and families from Safe Streets, Transportation Alternatives, and all our friends. I'd like to wish all of our students, parents, educators, school staff members a safe, happy, and productive new school year. As we move forward into this new year, our dedication for a safer New York City streets remains steadfast, and we will continue to take the necessary steps to protect our children as they return to school and to ensure that motorists understand the serious consequences of dangerous driving. As our efforts throughout Vision Zero has evolved, our continued analysis of traffic collisions and injuries have consistently pointed to a common cause, that is speed. As the schools open, and as you know, the public can expect a vastly expanded speed camera enforcement throughout the city of New York. In conjunction with this, the public can also expect the NYPD officers to target speeding in and around schools and also focus on distracted driving and drivers who fail to yield to pedestrians and bicyclists at intersections and crosswalks. While our enforcement efforts are always citywide 24 hours a day, you can further expect dedicated enforcement initiatives to complement these efforts, such as our pedestrian safety initiatives, bicycle safe passage, clear bus lanes, motorcycle enforcement, speeding and aggressive driving enforcement initiatives. During the month of September, you'll see a dramatic increase in these particular targeted initiatives, and we expect to continue throughout the year. As I said in the past, any injury or fatality on New York City streets is not only unacceptable, but also quite often preventable. Take heed that in addition to the speeding and also concentration on left turns, this is really a danger to our pedestrian and our bicyclists out there. When we take a look at left turning vehicles, which is 3 times as likely to cause an injury to our pedestrians or fatalities to these individuals, we take a look at intersections. After 5 years of looking at Vision Zero, as the Chief of Transportation, the one thing that I can point to New York City driver and motorists is that you have to pay attention as you approach the intersections. Because again, 3 times as likely to cause an injury or a fatality. So you can prevent these collisions by slowing down and looking both ways as you approach the intersection. Proceed with caution and always yield to our pedestrian and bicyclists, which includes all our children and our seniors who are crossing. Our officers will be looking for this particular violation, the right of way, which again increases the potential for injury to our pedestrian and bicyclists. I've asked our officers throughout the 77 different precincts, concentrate on the right of way because our children are important to us. So please, let the opening of schools and the influx of pedestrians and bicyclists to our roads be an impetus to slowing down and avoiding dangerous driving behavior. Driving safely will not only let you avoid the consequences of enforcement, but also make our streets safer and most certainly save lives. Thank you.
A true champion not only of South Brooklyn, but state of New York for street safety and Vision Zero, Senator Gennardis.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Bray. Thank you, Inspector Chan, Chief Chan, and thank you to everyone for being here today. My name is State Senator Andrew Gennardis. I represent the 22nd Senatorial District, including the neighborhoods from Bay Ridge all the way to Marine Park, and I was the lead Senate sponsor of the bill that was signed by the governor that we're here celebrating today to not only renew but expand the incredibly successful school zone speed camera program. We've seen the data, we know the facts. Speed cameras work at saving lives, period, end of story. And with the passage of this law and now the implementation of this law and now with school about to start, we know that we're going to be keeping nearly every single elementary and middle school in the city of New York, the children who go to those schools, the parents who walk their kids to those schools, the community members who go to those schools for different community events after school, we are going to be keeping them safe from the #1 cause of street violence, which is speeding. Speeding is an epidemic. It is a huge problem in our streets. We have to engage in a massive culture change to get everyone to slow the heck down and get someplace 5 minutes later than they intended to. Just last night, we had a traffic crash on 4th Avenue and 68th Street that was due in part to speeding. This is a cultural problem that we have to shift, and having strong enforcement through the automated speed camera program will help us curb the most reckless of speeding and help us keep our streets safe for everybody. No one, no parent, senior, or pedestrian of any age should live in fear of crossing the street in the year 2019 in the city of New York. Period. End of story. That is the goal that we aspire to. That is the goal that we are working towards, and that is what we are going to continue to do, working with the Department of Transportation, with the NYPD, with advocates like Families for Safe Streets and Transportation Alternatives, and with everyone working hand in hand in conjunction together to make sure that we put the the safety of people who travel our streets as our primary focus. I think we can do a lot more. I think there's so much more we can be doing, we will be doing in the future, but I'm so incredibly happy that we are touting this program today with school about to start tomorrow, and I look forward to continuing to work to improve street safety for all. Thank you very much, Commissioner.
We are also joined by Assemblymember Frontes.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Matilde Frontes. I'm the Assemblywoman, newly elected, I should say, for the 46th Assembly District, representing all of Coney Island, about half of Bay Ridge, Dyker Heights, Gravesend, and Brighton Beach. I'm really excited to be here today. I want to thank my colleague in the New York State Legislature, Senator Andrew Granardis. I want to thank DOT and the NYPD, and especially Bill de Blasio, for working on Vision Zero. And I'm really happy today that we're finally saying that enough is enough. On a sobering note, I want to say that 2019 has been the year of pedestrian fatalities. As we stand here this morning, there have been over 70 people in New York City since January who have died unnecessarily because of reckless driving on our roads. And as the senator mentioned, and as the DOT commissioner mentioned, most of these deaths have been preventable. We have children on the road. Here in Bay Ridge, we actually have an epidemic where we have children who have been hit by cars. We have children trying to cross the street. When I was elected, one of the first things that people mentioned to me is that you have to get the drivers in Bay Ridge to slow down. We have people sometimes who even come from other neighborhoods and come to Bay Ridge to do drag racing. And I don't know what that's about. If anyone knows, you can let me know. But we have to do better to keep our streets safe. As we think about Vision Zero, I want to say that this is the very least that we can do. The least that we could do is implement additional cameras. The least that we could do is increase fines and penalties for people that are driving recklessly on our road. I wish that we didn't have to be here this morning because this is really a common sense issue. I wish that all of the drivers in New York City knew that they just needed to slow down. And I'm going to echo the words of the mayor. Please slow the hell down. Thank you.
Thank you. From Transportation Alternatives, Mark O'Connor.
Thank you, Commissioner. My name is Mark O'Connor. I'm a Deputy Director with Transportation Alternatives. And I want to thank the Commissioner. I want to thank everyone here today for the tremendous work they have done to make our city streets safer. Assemblymember Frontes, Senator Granardis, who led the fight in Albany, Chief Chan, who made numerous trips to Albany to advocate for these life-saving speed cameras. And I'm here to express our strongest support for the city's life-saving speed camera program. This is a program that we help together with Families for Safe Streets to lead a coalition of more than 300 New York City institutions in support of this over several years. These are numerous hospitals, schools, parent-teacher associations, faith-based institutions, Girl Scout clubs, Boy Scouts clubs, a host of organizations, institutions, community groups from every single borough, from every walk of life in New York City who have clamored for years for this program. And we know that speed safety cameras save lives. As Senator Granardis says, that's the end of it. They save lives. And they do so fairly. You have to be speeding near a school, going more than 10 miles above the speed limit during hours when people are out and about in order to get a ticket. And then it's only $50. That's not unfair. That is very fair, and it works. And as the Commissioner said, 8 out of 10 people do not get a second ticket. So I'm here to express our strongest support for this on behalf of the coalition, and we are eager to see these cameras be turned on to save more lives. So thank you very much.
Thank you for those words. I'd like to bring up Families for Safe Streets, Amy Cohen, J. Martin Laveau.
We don't have much to share. We just want to show you the price of not acting. Sammy, Leonora, the hundreds and thousands of children who have been killed in the years that we've been fighting for this program. It's a no-nonsense measure. There is blood on our streets, followed by a river of tears. It's time we acted. We are grateful for this step forward. but we know we still have more to do.
We're all aware, and everybody's pointed out the epidemic that we have in New York City. It's not new. This is not news. This has been going on since we've had cars. My grandfather was killed by a car. My great-grandfather was killed by a car. My conductor was killed by a car. And my daughter was killed by a car. I am a recently retired New York City public school teacher. I know how important our children are. And hopefully these speed safety cameras will do what we know that they do and reduce the number of fatalities and injuries that are going on a daily basis throughout our city. Had this been done earlier, maybe Sammy would be here, maybe Leonora would be here. Maybe Families for Safe Streets wouldn't need to be. We are an organization comprised of people who have suffered the direct consequences of either losing loved ones or being injured personally, and this needs to stop. For those who have any objection to speed safety cameras, it's very difficult for me to understand when we do know that they've been proven to save lives. If you don't want the ticket, slow down. We've said it over and over again, just slow down. You don't want to be the one who's responsible for killing or injuring someone else. You don't want to be killed or injured yourself. Slow down.
Thank you.
Thank you for those words. We're here at Fontbonne Hall Academy, and we'd like to introduce the principal, Marianne Spiciari.
Thank you, Mr. Bray, and thank you to everyone for being here. I'd like to welcome you to Fontbonne, and certainly begin by saying thank you to Senator Gennardis and to all of the other community leaders who worked towards successfully getting this very, very important safety legislation in place that I understand was stalled in the Senate for quite some time. It is so important to make sure that our students are kept safe in school in these very turbulent times of horror stories that we hear about school safety. It is also equally important to make sure that they can travel safely to school and home. Fontbonne has been providing young women an education in Brooklyn and Queens, an exceptional college preparatory education in the spirit and the charism of the Sisters of St. Joseph for 82 years. The Sisters of St. Joseph mission calls us to empower young women through education and to graduate women who will lead our world towards unity, reconciliation, love, justice, and peace. So I think you'll agree with me that we have some very, very important work that goes on here. And it's good to know that we have leaders in our community that are working to ensure that our work can continue and that our students can come to us safely on a daily basis for many years to come. So again, thank you for being here today. Thank you for visiting Fontbonne, and our gratitude to our community leaders for the wonderful safety measures that they've put in place for us beginning this year. Thank you so much.
Cool. All right. Any questions you may have? Yes. How many cameras do you wear? I'm sorry.
Numbers.
It's really hard to hear over the
Yeah.
truck.
Yeah.
Are there any numbers on how many new cameras have been put in and how many NYPD officers have been deployed to monitor street safety?
So we put in, we now have 120 new fixed cameras. That's along more, there was already 200 that were previously installed, and we have 40 mobile cameras installed.
This has been installed since
July, correct?
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry, 120 new fixed cameras. That's already to the 200 fixed we already had, and we have 40 mobile cameras. 40 mobile in the vehicle, yeah. Mm-hmm. That's correct, yes. Correct.
I'm here, but I have a question
Most of our, oh, sure, yeah. So most of our students are traveling via car and via bus. So clearly the most obvious reason of them just feeling safe coming out of the transportation that they use. I think it's also just giving them a sense of safety. And I think we have research to prove that when students feel safe at school, their achievement rates are just going to soar even higher than we know many of our girls already achieve. So yeah, I think that sense of comfort is really a wonderful thing for them. I don't know if you girls want to speak to that specifically. Invite them to.
So I'm Isabella Chirico. So I know that now that we're starting to learn how to drive and getting to school every day with our cars, it's definitely nice knowing that there's cameras so that people will be more aware of what they're doing and where they're driving, how they're driving, so that when I walk into school and walk out of school, I'll be more, comfortable knowing that I'm safe going in and out of Fontbonne.
I think they wanted your last name.
Chirico, Chirico. I'm a senior, 12th grade.
Yes, sir.
Hi, question for you and if you can. I'm a big believer in leading by example. So, what is the policy of the NYPD towards often the officers some of them getting over 30 tickets, speed camera tickets, and part two, what is the policy of the city towards city vehicles being caught in speed cameras?
Yeah, if a city vehicle gets caught to a speed camera, the notice of violation is sent to whoever the vehicle is, and then they have to pay the fine, like anyone. Yeah, like anyone else.
Again, that follows with the NYPD also. If you are operating a department vehicle, whether it be an unmarked vehicle, if you receive a red light camera or a speed camera, that will be forwarded to your command for investigation. If there's no justifiable reason, then there's an expectation that that officer will pay for that summons. Again, we expect our officers to follow the laws and regulations, and they will receive summonses like anyone else out there. We encourage them to drive safely. And I want to emphasize, can't give it enough emphasis, is that after 5 years, and being the Chief of Transportation, overseeing this program, for all city motorists, if you pay attention when you're approaching the intersection, when you're making that left turn or right turn, and it's almost a higher probability, 3 times as likely to cause an injury, you'll reduce the headache, any type of liability, any type of litigation and things of that nature. Now, what happened is that our officers, I've asked them to target that violation right away. If you don't yield to the right of way to the pedestrian or the bicyclist out there, you will have problems. And I certainly encourage all our officers to write that particular summons for people who are committing that violation. Because a vehicle and another vehicle has a collision, people have seat belts, there are airbags, there's technology that protects them. But when a vehicle connects with and collides with a pedestrian, the pedestrian loses each and every time. So again, that's my advice to all our motorists out there, and I certainly tell that to my own family and my friends, because I don't think they need the headache, they don't want the heartache. So please pay attention, especially for our children and this time of the year. Thank you.
And I also want to add for the next question that the Department of Transportation very seriously takes us as leading by example. We tell our employees not to speed, we let them know that, and also other traffic violations that they may have. So we are very aware of that. Commissioner Trottenberg emphasized that very strongly, that we're seen as someone who people should say, yes, they're following law and doing what we need to do. Yes.
And so I have a question for the senator.
Oh.
I think I'll let everybody understand why you have the cameras during school hours. Explain why it's been extended outside of school hours, on weekends especially, because people have been saying that it's not about safety, it's about the city getting money.
Sure. Well, anyone who knows how our schools are used across the city of New York know that they're used for more than just places of education. Schools are community hubs where, whether it's after-school activities for students, club meets, team practices, games, swim practices, play rehearsals, community meetings. I mean, the week that we passed the speed camera bill in March, the prior week, there were events happening at Fort Hamilton High School, school events, until 9 and 10 o'clock that night. the week before. So schools are open. People are using the school facilities more than just traditional 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. On top of that, each school has a different schedule. Some schools start the day at 7 o'clock. Some schools may start a little bit later at 8 o'clock. Some schools may finish the day at 3 o'clock. Some schools may finish after instruction at 4 o'clock. To have a uniform standard of when the cameras go on and when the cameras go off, consistent across the board, makes it easier to keep all of the school facilities safe and all of the surrounding areas safe. And it puts everyone on notice that when they're traveling in a school zone, this is the conduct and the driving behavior that is expected of them. The same applies for year-round. How many of our schools are open throughout the summer for summer camps, summer programs, summer enrichment opportunities? I mean, this is not just about keeping kids safe when they're in algebra or biology class. This is about keeping kids and people safe when they're coming to schools for whatever the reason. So the money goes to the city, and the city then uses that funds, and I'll let the commissioner talk about that as well. But one of the things that we required in the law was to require the DOT to tell us every year how much money is raised from the expansion of the program, as well as how much money is expended on street safety initiatives across the board through the DOT's budget. So now we'll know how much comes in and how much of that money that's coming in gets sent right back out to help improve safety on our streets, building curb bulb outs, building bike lanes, et cetera. I'll let the commissioner talk more about the road redesign initiative that the department is undertaking, but that's really the intent of this funding, is to make sure that we are keeping our streets safe for all.
There's been 198,000 violations since the cameras went up in July, but we can get you more figures on that. We'll get back to you. And I will let you speak. And also, I do want to say that the funding goes to the general fund. That's where it goes to. And we are happy that as the cameras roll out, there are usually a lot of violations originally when they come out, when people aren't aware of them, and then those number of violations go down. That's what we've seen citywide, and people stop speeding. That's the true goal of what we're looking for when this camera is in place, is that people behave the way we want them to behave. So that's the real goal of what the speed cameras are, to make streets safe. You want to make a comment?
Thank you. No, I understand that your question was about money, and I appreciate that. However, what we're talking about is saving lives, and I don't think that you can put a monetary figure on that. I also would have to point out that while we're talking about school children, presumably now from 3K through 12, we also have college students who are out and about at all hours of night, day and night, and 7 days a week. And my daughter was killed on a Friday night. So my question would be, why are these cameras not on 24/7, 365 days a year, not just to protect our students, but also to protect every member of our community at every time of day or night, because deaths are occurring 24/7, 365 days a year. Jane Martin Laveau, L-A-V-A-U-D.
Yes, sir.
You've raised billions through these camera tickets, and you have a lot of big promises this year. You have bus lanes, you have a bike lane network you're expanding. You only have a couple more months left in the striping season. Are you going to get it done, and are you going to are you guys putting out any new contracts? Are you guys expanding the capacity of which you can get this marking done, and are you confident that the department will get everything done in Brooklyn that it is promised to do this year?
What we've promised to do in Brooklyn this year, we expect to get done. There are bike lanes that are being implemented right now, silver protected ones. Fountain Avenue in East New York is one of them. There are others coming. We're obviously looking forward to doing some better bus lane project on Church Avenue, so that should be coming a little later on, probably in the fall. And then other safety projects that we plan on putting in this year. Yes, we do. When it comes to our markings contracts, yes, the marking season is going to end near late November, early December, depending on how the weather looks. But we do expect to have everything in place. We are working to expand our markings capability and should have that moving forward as we put in more safety projects in our plan. Yes?
I think someone maybe mentioned this, the number of pedestrian or bicyclist fatalities this year that were involved with speeding. Did someone?
I mentioned earlier that in New York City we've had over 70 pedestrian fatalities since January. Now that figure is as of August 15th. Somebody here may know if we have had additional ones since August 15th, but as of August 15th, we have 70, and to say nothing of the 19 bicyclist fatalities as well.
Any other questions? Yes.
How many are there any number of additional officers deployed to monitor street safety?
What happened is that we actually met with all the borough XOs in every borough in New York City. And what happened is that each borough has divided a plan within their borough, and that also includes the individual precincts on pedestrian safety, bicycle safety, and also anticipation of our children going back to school. So I would venture to say that participation is going to be throughout the city. I'm not going to put a particular number on how many officers. My expectation is that we expect our officers to engage the public, and when they see violations occur, that they will issue summonses. So certainly motorists beware, but our officers are aware of this, and I anticipate that they'll be looking specifically for people who are not yielding to our pedestrians. And quite often, our children are going to school. They're either walking or taking buses, but they will get off the buses and have to walk to their schools. So we ultimately want to discourage our drivers and make sure that they follow the rules and regulation and pay attention when our children are out there.
I just want to add to that. So I regularly speak with the captains of the precincts in the areas that I cover, the 6-8, the 6-2, the 6-1, and the 6-3, on a monthly or every couple of weeks or so. And I consistently ask them about what they're doing on street safety and traffic enforcement, and the message is filtering down to the precincts, and the captains all know that it's a priority, not just from the department, but from the local elected officials as well, and they are aware of it, and they are deploying officers to make sure we are targeting the most troublesome intersections, and that they do have officers out there ticketing aggressive drivers, ticketing bad drivers, ticketing drivers who are refusing to yield. But it's not just enough to put police officers in every corner. We heard the numbers of tickets, almost 200,000 tickets in July alone. Last year, the NYPD gave out 140,000 tickets year-round. So speeding is so much more than we can catch just by having an officer on every corner. So this is a problem that requires a multi-pronged solution. We're going to target the most aggressive and most egregious areas with the help of the NYPD, but we need automated enforcement in order to make sure that we are going after everyone who is speeding 10 miles or more in the speed zones.
Any other questions? Yes.
Real quick, talking about last night's forum at Brooklyn Borough Hall, this should be for either of you. Should government employees be allowed to park in the plaza at Borough Hall? And are you doing anything to look into placard abuse in downtown Brooklyn in the area surrounding Brooklyn?
So the downtown, we are looking at placard abuse in general. Obviously, we're looking at a possible system where we will get away from placards. There's nothing to announce on it yet, but we're looking into it. And it definitely, as far as DOT cars are concerned, we're working with them to comply with the laws, both with placards, and we've gone to a system where we're using stickers to the vehicles to change that as well. But we are aware of that issue, and we're going to work with all agencies in citywide to come up with something about placard abuse citywide, not just downtown Brooklyn.
Our traffic agents and also our police officers are targeting placard abuse. This year we've issued over 33,000 summonses to vehicles for parking with placards or placards that were improper and things of that nature. So we'll continue to work with our Department of Transportation, and again, there are limited parking available in certain parts of Brooklyn and throughout the city, and certainly whether it be city employees or police department, fire department, teachers, or whatever the case may be, we expect them to follow the rules and the regulations of the road.
Thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you.